Let me say it straight. This morning, I watched an entire training center go still. All because a small part of an old tattoo showed under a faded sleeve. It reminded me that people don't really stop judging others by their looks, no matter how many medals you've earned or what you've been through. You're probably wondering how one tattoo could make trained soldiers freeze like that. Truth is, not all battles make it into the news. Some leave scars deeper than any headline. That day began with a dry, burning sunrise over northern Arizona. The light was sharp, casting long shadows and making every line on my face stand out like etched stories. I gripped the wheel of my rust-colored Jeep, my hands aching with age and memory. Every mile back to this place brought up another ghost. Name's Nora Ellis. But to most people around the camp, I was just the old lady in outdated workout gear. Worn-out trainers, olive shorts, a graying shirt from another era, and a duffel bag with more years on it than some of the staff. I didn't come to make a scene, I just showed up, like I always had. But sometimes, showing up is all it takes to remind folks what they'd rather forget. At the front gate, I flashed my access pass. The kid manning the post didn't even glance at me, too busy typing on his phone. I parked beside a line of spotless government SUVs, their paint still gleaming like no one's ever sweated inside them. I could hear the new recruits shouting out on the range, nervous energy, trying to find their place in this machine. Inside the main office, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, flickering now and then. Eyes turned when I stepped in, all curious and quiet. A few staffers stopped chatting mid-sentence. One leaned into the other and whispered, "Lost in time," with a smirk. It wasn't the first time I'd heard that tone. And probably not the last. At the front counter, a young specialist named Carter, didn't learn his name until later, pretended to help me while secretly taking my picture. A few taps, and my image hit the unit's group chat with a clever caption about senior citizens cosplaying as warriors. Laughs followed. Then the memes. They always get meaner the longer they circulate. You'd think after everything I've seen, that sort of thing wouldn't bother me anymore. But it still stings. You just get better at not showing it. Lieutenant Camden eventually called me forward, stiff posture and all. He read my name like he was listing grocery items and asked for my paperwork like it was his first time seeing clearance forms. Everyone kept watching, like they expected me to snap, yell, cry, prove them right somehow. I just handed him the papers, calm, quiet. But the whispers didn't stop. She should be at home, not here. Trying to prove something? Bet she thinks this is still her war. Then it happened. They told me I had to either change out of the shirt or leave. Said my outfit didn't meet current standards. Not meant for people like me. I didn't argue. I just nodded, unzipped the duffel, and started changing right there by the front bench. I didn't do it to make a point. I did it because I wasn't about to turn around and disappear. As I pulled the shirt over my head, my back was exposed. That's when the tattoo became visible, numbers etched in black, wings outstretched above them. It wasn't a casual tattoo. It was something earned the hard way. Silence dropped again. Most of them didn't recognize it. But a few did. Staff Sergeant Lynn froze mid-step. Her eyes widened as if she'd seen a ghost. The mark on my back wasn't just ink. It was a symbol, an old recon unit once active in off-the-books missions across unstable borders. Echo Hawk 319. Not a name you'll find in any official report. But those who know. I threw on a fresh t-shirt from a coastal base in Florida, one of the newer ones I kept tucked away for occasions like this. It was stiff, smelled like dust and memory. I headed back inside. The admin staff muttered things under their breath. A couple of recruits giggled, imitating my walk like it was comedy hour. But I'd heard that kind of laughter before, in gyms, classrooms, and war rooms. It always came from people who hadn't earned the right to laugh. What they didn't understand was simple. If you're still here to hear the joke, then the punchline didn't beat you. At the track, they made me wait. Said they needed to double-check my clearance. Some civilian clerk named Morgan scrolled on a tablet, pretending to search. The sun beat down hard. Sweat collected under my collar, but I didn't move. More recruits arrived. Some glanced over. Others openly pointed. My photo kept bouncing from phone to phone with captions like, "Army, Throwback Edition. Is there a senior fitness badge?" PT with Grandma. And still I stood there. I sat alone on a metal bench near the edge of the field, surrounded by noise but untouched by it. People think waiting is passive, like it means you've lost. But real patience? That's something you earn, day by day, loss by loss. One deployment. One empty hallway. One cold breakfast with no one sitting across from you. Nearly 40 minutes ticked by. The sky above turned from harsh blue to that blinding noon white. My phone buzzed. A text lit up the cracked screen. Hang in there. If they start anything, you let me know. Sergeant Major Devin Harris. I smiled at that. Sometimes all it takes to stay steady is knowing someone's still got your six. Eventually, they called my name. No apology. Just a bored woman behind a desk mumbling, "You're good. Next time, bring a hard copy." So I walked out to the track. This time, the silence around me wasn't quite the same. Sure, there were still stares. But the tone had shifted. Curiosity crept in. A few expressions even softened, like maybe they regretted the laughs from earlier. Then something real happened. Staff Sergeant Alvarez, the one who recognized the ink on my back earlier, stepped aside and made a quiet call. Not to gossip, not to complain. He used a line reserved for critical alerts, one that hits the top in seconds. Not even 5 minutes passed before a black SUV rolled into the lot. Colonel Vince McCall climbed out with Major Daria Bennett right behind him. You'd have thought a general just landed. Everyone fell silent. Eyes followed as McCall walked straight toward me. He paused, glanced at the two, then locked eyes with me and asked in a voice loud enough for everyone to hear, "Where'd you earn that?" I met his gaze. Solid. Al-Mazrah. 2001, Rear Ops. Echo Hawk 319. He froze. "My sister was on that convoy," he said, voice low and tight. "She made it home because someone held that road." His face didn't break. Not with tears, anyway. Just this look, like he'd been carrying something heavy for years and someone had just lifted part of it. Then, in front of everyone, the smirking recruits, the staff who'd whispered, the techs still holding their tablets, Colonel McCall gave me a salute. Chris, chirp. No hesitation. Right then, the tone of the whole place changed. He announced it flat. If I wanted to wear that uniform, I wore it. If I wanted to train recruits, I trained them. Anyone who had a problem could talk to him directly. Major Bennett stepped forward next. Her words were formal and firm, an official apology and immediate update to policy. No more guessing games. No more disrespect. The jokers went silent. The bold ones from earlier now unsure if they were watching a reprimand or the start of a legend. Private Lily Thompson, the same one who'd laughed the hardest in the waiting area, gave me a different kind of look now, like maybe, just maybe, she saw a version of herself in me. Later, beneath the bleachers, she found me alone. She held her water bottle like it was keeping her grounded. "How do you do it?" she asked. "How do you keep going when they treat you like you don't belong?" I told her the truth. It gets to me. Every time. You just learn when to show it, and when not to. You only bend when it counts. The rest of the time, you stay up. We sat there for a bit longer. Talking. Her asking me answering. The kind of quiet exchange that doesn't need filling with noise. Just understanding. When the evaluation run began, I didn't hang back. I stepped right to the front. No fanfare. No drama. Just steady breath and rhythm. I didn't run for show. Didn't care about the clock. I ran because that's what you do when it's your turn to lead. Around me, a few tried to keep up. Most fell behind. Even Mason Price, the same guy who posted my picture in the group chat, trailed at the back, doubled over and coughing up sarcasm with every step. I waited at the finish line. Not to gloat. Just to stand. As each recruit came in, I gave them a nod or a word. Nothing loud. But enough. When it was over, the field held a new kind of silence. Not the sting of shame, but the hush that follows respect. Before I left, a few came up to thank me. Some just nodded, unsure of what to say. Others said they'd learned something. A couple even asked if I'd be back. Colonel McCall and Major Bennett met me by the gate. Handed me my extended clearance. Told me the door was open any time I wanted to walk through it again. I got back into the Jeep. The sun was low now, casting long streaks across the gravel lot. In the rearview mirror, the base looked smaller. But the feeling in my chest? That had grown. A new story was already spreading. Not the kind told in loud boasts or flashy promotions, but one whispered between rookies. About the old woman who showed up and reminded everyone what real strength looks like. Sometimes, it's the quietest people who leave the loudest echoes. And maybe, just maybe, you've stood where Nora Ellis stood. Maybe you've been doubted, or dismissed, or told your time had passed. But you held your ground anyway. If that's you, or someone you know, tell that story. Because in the end, legacy isn't carved in medals or broadcast on headlines. It's built in the quiet choices, the steady steps, and the people who follow behind you, walking just a little taller because they saw you lead. In a world quick to forget, Nora Ellis reminded them, and us, that real courage doesn't retire. It shows up even when it's mocked. It leads even when no one's asking. Her story isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about refusing to fade quietly. The ones who last aren't always the loudest or the youngest. They're the ones who keep showing up even after the world stops watching. And now, her presence echoes through that base, not as a memory, but as a standard. Because sometimes, all it takes is one person standing tall in the face of doubt to remind everyone else what honor, grit, and real leadership look like. Legacy isn't given, it's earned. And Nora? She earned every inch.